So I'd like to talk about the Warhammer 40,000 timeline and sort of where 40,000 comes from, and just I'd like to talk about the passage of time and how it's measured. So firstly, why is Warhammer 40,000 called Warhammer 40,000? Well, 40,000 sounds cool and it's in the future, and so that's cool. And then but why is it called, apart from the fact that it's cool and people who are writing it when they wrote it, that's what they called it. If you're alive in the 41st millennium, why is it called the 41st millennium? Why is it the year 40,000? Well, it's just because the clock it just carried on. It didn't stop. So we started on with the birth of Jesus Christ, and then now it's the year 2018, and then it just carried on until it's the year 40,000, and there wasn't any sort of, nobody reset the time. So why didn't they reset the time? So they were opportunities. So imperial scholars could have reset the time, but the sort of culmination of the Great Crusade, the start of the heresy, so that happened in 30,000, and that now could have been 0 because it's a new Imperium, even though it's all shattered and everything's rubbish. But because everything was all shattered and there was a huge war, they didn't really have the time to start it. But they could have sort of backtracked and that could have been a thing, that it could be Warhammer 10,000, and even sort of going back further, like to why is it 40,000 when we're starting on the year 0? The year 0 isn't the first year of humans. Like, there were the Roman Empire and all these empires beforehand, and like stuff in Turkey and Egypt, the whole Egyptian thing, that was sort of 4,000 years before now, or before Christ. So, basically the first human civilization that started up was 10,000 years ago. In Turkey, it's the first recorded sort of monument that was built. It was a sort of a stone chapel or church or place of worship or something, and you could classify that time as 0. And there's a really cool video by Kurzgesagt that's which I'm going to link to. It's really cool, and it talks about that, and it talks about how we're living in the year 2000. Well, at the time it was 2016 or 17, but the time should be the year 12,016. So we should be living in 12,018 now. So if you shunt 40,000 years on the future, that's Warhammer 50,000, which is a bigger number, sounds better. And then that's just talking about a human perspective. So you've got the whole like war in heaven, which sort of wiped the dinosaurs out 65 million years ago. So do the Necrons, do they live in the year 65 million, but then they were alive before the year 65, like before the dinosaurs? So is it 65 million and 20, or what time do they call it? Because they don't call it the year 40,000 because it doesn't have any bearing on their civilization. And then the Eldar and Eldari and Drukhari, pointy ears, they wouldn't call it the year 40,000. They know that humans call it 40,000, maybe, but they wouldn't bother calling it anything that doesn't have any relation to their society. And the fall of their empire and the birth of Slaanesh, and all that business, that happened that was a turmoil that sort of got rid of the warp storm surrounding Terra that allowed the Great Crusade to start off. So that was 30,000 for us. So did the Eldar, did they reset their clock and they sort of have a before the fall and after the fall, like we have BC and AD? Do they live in the year 10,000, but we call it 40,000 even though there's another 10,000 years on top, and then the Necrons call it 65 million? Or do the Necrons say, well, the time's zero once the doors of the crypt open? So they're in year, like, 5 or something. And then you've got the age of the universe and the galaxy is 14 billion. So really the year is 14 billion. Maybe it's 14 billion and 40,000, that would be cool. So it's just different people's perspectives and how time is measured, and it's not just the year 40,000, because time sort of, somebody just writes on a piece of paper and that's time. It's not real. I think it's cool. I just think that's a cool idea that I kind of waffled and rambled and went about. But what year is it? And then there's the whole Great Rift and time moving faster or slower or backwards. And also maybe the Imperial scholars got the time wrong anyway, so it's the year 40,000 maybe. So that's cool. It's just cool. I love the fact that there's all this sort of what's going on and the whole like grimdark nature and everything's cool. So that's a long video, and I'm going to shut up now. So cool.